Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Jenny. I'm from Jenny Card Designs. Thanks so much for stopping by to spend some time with me here today. My YouTube channel contains content that is intended to share paper crafting, tutorials, and inspiration with all of you. I hope that you enjoy. Okay, so today's video, I've got a bunch of alcohol ink panels that I'm going to turn into some cards. I showed you these panels in a previous video a few days ago. If you haven't had a chance to see that, I will link to that either in the description or in the top right hand corner of the screen. So I've just got a bunch of panels that I worked on, and I'm going to grab some supplies and make some cards. First, I have this die from Altenew, and it's called a leaf frame cover die. I have this puzzle die from Pink and Maine, and then I've got the Altenew delicate mandala die. And then I have 3 background stamps. I've got the Gina K Designs Red Rubber Rose Lace, and the Gina K Petite Flourish, and the Simon Says Pretty Peonies stamp set. So I'm going to dig through my alcohol panels, and I'm going to pick out a background for each of the things that I've shown you. So we'll start with the Altenew cover die, and I just want to show you my highly scientific process. I take the die and I put it on top of the background and decide whether or not that's how I want it. I'm looking for a piece that is going to be big enough to fit my die, and I think we found one. We have a winner. This is a Yupo paper background with some alloys and some green alcohol pearl ink, so it's really pretty. And then for the puzzle die, I grabbed this rainbow background. This is also on Yupo paper, and it's got this sterling alloy on it as well. And then for the mandala, I grabbed one of the purple backgrounds, and that is on photo paper. And then for the peonies, I grabbed this pink and orange background that's on silver sparkle cardstock. And again, some more silver sparkle cardstock for the Petite Flourish. And for the rose lace, some more silver sparkle cardstock. I really like the look of that with the alcohol inks. It's super pretty. So here's what I've chosen. I've got 3 background stamps and 3 designs, and 3 dies with 3 designs. So now it's time to turn these into something spectacular. I'm going to start by cutting out my designs. So I've got the leaf frame die. I cut that out 3 times with white cardstock. I'm going to stack that on top and put the panel in behind it. And then for my puzzle die, I was going to layer them up, but I had a heck of a time trying to put this together. So I just used some Post-it tape and I taped the Yupo paper background together. And then I was just happy with that. And then I cut out the delicate mandala die with some soft gray cardstock. And then I'm going to start putting some things together. So I like to kind of work in bulk process. So I've chosen all of the dies with the alcohol backgrounds, and I'm going to create those first, and then I'll turn them into cards. So I'll glue all of the white frames onto my panel. And then once I'm happy with that, I'm going to use my bolt and fuller to press everything into place. And then I'll set this aside and then go work on my puzzle background. So I grabbed some regular Scotch tape, and I'm just lifting up the Post-it tape very carefully to make sure everything stays in place. And I'm going to tape this background together. So you won't see any of this Scotch tape, but I'm going to use it to hold my whole puzzle together. In hindsight, I probably should have just embossed the die plate instead of cutting it, but that's okay. It worked out just fine. So now here we've got the mandala. I'm going to use my pokey tool to pull that out of the die, and I'm going to glue this onto this large purple background. And it's so delicate that I don't want to use glue. It's going to take me forever. So I've got a tape runner, and I use my silicone mat, and I just run the tape runner over top of the die. And the only place that's going to pick up my adhesive is the paper. It will not stick to the silicone mat, so that's a really quick and easy way to apply adhesive to delicate things like this. So I'll adhere that down to my panel, and then we're going to trim these up. So I trimmed the mandala down to 5 by 5 inches and saved the little scrap. And then I kept a little bit of green border around this leaf die. I really like the way that looked. And then I'm going to glue everything to my card bases. So I'll glue down my puzzle to a heavy base weight cardstock. This is a 120-pound card base. And I got some smudges there, so I'll just use my electronic eraser and just buff off any of those mistakes that I've made. And then I'm going to adhere my leaf panel. I'll use some double-sided adhesive for this. It sticks nicely to the back of the Yupo paper, so I thought that was nice and easy. And I like the way that looks. I'm happy with that. And now here, I really struggled with this design. I didn't know what to do. I loved it so much, but I didn't want to wreck it. So I put it in the middle, I put it off to the side, and then I thought it needs one more thing. So I grabbed some more of that soft gray cardstock, and I'll just adhere my panel to the cardstock and give it a little border. And then I thought that really pulled it together. So I'm going to position this off to the side a little bit. So I'm happy with that. And then I'm going to cut off the edges. And I think it looks so nice. It looks so nice that I don't want to throw away these excess panels. So I'm just kind of figuring out what to do with them. And I kind of moved it around and played with it until I settled on the bottom. So I put this piece on the bottom in the same angle as the top piece and then trimmed off the excess. And then I had a little sliver left over plus an extra piece of that alcohol background that I thought I just wanted to complete this pattern. So I went back to my die and I cut out one more mandala and just took a little piece off of it and adhered that to the excess panel that I had and then glued everything down. So it just kind of looks like tiles. I think it's so cool. I love this look so much. And here are my cards so far. So we're going to set these aside and we're going to pull in the background stamps and start working on those. Okay, so we'll start with the Petite Flourish background stamp from Gina K. And I'm going to grab my Misty and I'm going to pull out my Misty mouse pad and I'm going to tape my panel inside of my Misty just so that it doesn't shift around and I get a nice coverage on that panel. So I'm going to lay the stamp over top, pick it up with the door of the Misty, use my anti-static powder bag, pat that over my cardstock so that I don't get embossing powder anywhere where I don't want it. I'll use my Gina K Designs watermark ink. I'll ink up my stamp. I'll stamp it down, giving good, firm, even pressure. I actually stamped this a couple of times. And then I'll remove it from my Misty. And I'm going to use some Gina K Designs Fine Detail Silver Embossing Powder. And I'm going to sprinkle that over top of my background, making sure that I get good, even coverage of my embossing powder. And then I grab my silicone craft mat and I will heat set that with my heat tool until it's smooth and melted. Okay, here's a look at that panel so far. And now we're going to repeat the process. Ink, stamp, powder, heat, and done. Here's a look at that beautiful gold panel so far. We'll do this one more time for our final background using the Simon Says stamp, Pretty Peonies background stamp, and the Gina K Designs Fine Detail white powder. So you want to make sure that you don't hold your heat gun too long in one spot to avoid any warping or burning like I did here, but it's okay, we'll make it work. So I grabbed a piece of craft foam and I'm going to pop up my first panel here. This is the Gina K Designs Rose Lace background stamp, and I used the Gina K Designs Fine Detail Gold embossing powder for this one. I'll use my bone folder on the back of this piece to help straighten out some of that warping and adhere this down to my card base. So it's got a little bit of dimension there and looks good. Okay, next panel. I'm going to take this one. It reminds me of like a unicorn sky, I think. I really like the way it looks. So I'm going to glue this straight down to my card. I'm not going to do any popping up here. So I like that. Okay, and for the third panel, I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do. It's kind of bubbly in the back from being burned. So I decided I'm going to cut this up. So I cut this panel down to 3.5 by 5, and then I cut those into little rectangles. So each rectangle measures 1 3/4 inch by 2.5 inches. And then I used some foam squares to adhere these panels down to create sort of like a window effect. I saw Gina K Designs live channel and she did something like this recently and I really liked the way it looked. So here are my 6 cards so far. All they need are some sentiments. So let's go do that now. Okay, so I thought these cards, since they were pretty special, we're going to keep the sentiments fairly simple. So what's more fitting than Tailored Expressions Simple Strips? So these are red rubber background stamps and they are loaded up with sentiments. They've come out with quite a few of these and the die that coordinates with it works for all of the Tailored Expressions Simple Strip sets. So you need one die for all of the sets, which is amazing. The price of the die is a little bit higher than most, but when you think about the uses for it, I think it's worth it in the end. So I'm going to show you how this works. I'm going to grab my MISTI and remove my MISTI mouse pad, load up my stamp where I want it, so you know what happens next. Ink, stamp, powder, heat, done. And then I'm going to take the die and I'm going to use those little squares on the side that you see there to line up my die. I'll take some frog tape. This is just a low tack painter's tape. And I'll run this through my die cutting machine and we'll have a ton of sentiments ready to go for our cards. I just start sorting through them, reading the sentiments and see which sentiment I think fits each card. And I just kept it super duper simple. I adhered them down. I did pop up a couple of them. I used my T-square ruler to help me make sure that I got my sentiments nice and straight, because I think that would just ruin the card at this point, because that black is very focal. It draws your eye right to it. So you don't want to make it crooked. So for the leafy frame, I used some black scrap cardstock and I used that to pop up my sentiment rather than using foam squares here. So then we get a nice even dimension as the sentiment lays across that leafy panel. And it wouldn't be sunk in or anything. So it would stand up nicely and go through the mail nicely. And then I grabbed some embellishments from my stash. I have a bunch of random things here. I have some gold pearls for this one, and I'll adhere those down using some liquid adhesive and my jewel picker. So for this one, I'm going to take some clear jewels, and these have like a little mirror backing, so they look reflective. So they're really pretty. And for this one, my most favorite card of the day, I followed the little patterns in the delicate lines here and just dropped some adhesive in those spots. And I'm going to put some iridescent sparkly jewels here. These, I believe, are from Pretty Pink Posh. These are super pretty gems. They really pick up the color purple in that card. And then for the pink one here with the peonies, I just put down some white sparkly sequins. And then that's it. I left the rest alone. I think there's enough going on for these ones, and I was happy with the way they turned out. I really, really loved these cards. So let's kind of go over them and see if I can remember what I used to create each of them. Okay, first up is Your Strength is Inspiring. I used Kodak photo paper for this background with my alcohol inks and the sterling alloy. I used the Altenew Delicate Mandala die and Pretty Pink Posh sparkly gems. As I mentioned, this is my favorite card. I love this purple. There's so much shimmer going on here, and I love the pattern too. That sort of offset tile pattern is really graphically pleasing to the eye. Next up we have Let Your Light Shine. This is a Simon Says stamp, Pretty Peonies background stamp. My background is made from heavyweight Yupo paper. I originally thought it was the silver shimmer stock, but it is not. I used the heavyweight Yupo paper with some alcohol pearl inks and some neat and tangled sequins. Okay, for this one, it says, I miss your face, you are my people. And I used Pink and Main puzzle die, and this background is made with regular Yupo paper, the sterling alloy ink, and a rainbow of regular alcohol inks. I really like the shimmer the alloy alcohol ink gives. Okay, next we have my second favorite card. This one is my unicorn background, and it says, I'm so proud of you. I used the Gina Designs Petite Flourish with silver embossing powder. For the background, I used Silver Sparkle alcohol ink cardstock, as well as some of the new alcohol inks. I used Monsoon and Boysenberry, and embellished with some sparkly gems. For my next card, I used the Altenew leaf frame cover die, along with some regular Yupo paper for the background. And I used some of the new alcohol inks again for this one. I used Mojito and Everglades, and then also used the Statue Alloy. And then I embellished it with some pretty gold pearls. I really like the way that alloy catches the light. It's really nice. And then for the next card, the final one, I used the Gina K Designs red rubber background stamp, the rose lace, and I also used Gina K Fine Detail gold embossing powder. And for my background, I used the Silver Sparkle cardstock as well, along with a variety of different alcohol inks, including pearls and some of the new colors as well. Just a mix of warm colors. And then obviously for all of my cards, I use the Tailored Expressions Simple Strips, and the set I used is called Friendship. So that is it for all of the cards I made today. So pull out some of your already pre-made backgrounds, and you could do this very same thing. It doesn't have to be alcohol ink backgrounds. It could be any backgrounds you have in your stash. Pull them out and see what you can come up with. Okay, so that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to spend it here with me. Coming up on screen are a few videos that I think you may enjoy. Have yourself a lovely day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!